What the Tech is sponsored by Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continual, and unlimited backups for your computer. Try it for free at Carbonite.com and use offer code WhatTheTech and get 2 bonus months with purchase. And by Shutterstock.com with more than 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips for 30% off new accounts. Go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code WhatTheTech4.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the internet celebrity himself, the one who causes all the trouble in Microsoft land, Paul Thurrott.
You know what? That's not fair. I am being treated like the person who threw the grenade in the room and then ran away. But
boy,
really,
what a weekend you've had.
I know, but the truth is, I didn't start this fire. I just sort of responded to it.
It was always burning since the world was turning, Paul?
Well, somebody from Microsoft apparently started it. Yeah. But, to me, it's hard to remember. It seems like it happened 3 weeks ago, but I think it was on Sunday, so 2 long days ago. I finally responded to the many requests from people to deal with this Xbox rumor stuff. And I looked at what this guy did from Microsoft. I didn't find it to be as offensive as many people did.
So for people who don't know, because some people missed our show on Friday. We recorded the show on Friday last week because we couldn't do Tuesday because Paul was traveling. And it was a very last-minute put-together show. And during the show, I believe the second half of the show, I think almost an hour into the show, we brought up the Xbox and the debacle over the always-on feature that may be in Xbox. There was a whole issue on Reddit. If you want to know exactly what we spoke about, you can go to the 54-minute mark on Friday's last episode of What the Tech, and you can find it there after this. But when we were discussing,
not to beat it to death.
Sure. But when we were discussing this, Paul, I took it as almost a non-event in the sense of we were speculating, or at least I was speculating. So,
well, here's the thing. So in the context of Friday, and you got to remember, I had flown on the red eye the night before, and by the way, I was affected by this red eye flight all the way through. Actually, I may still be. I mean, all the way at least through yesterday. I've been exhausted, every day since I've been back, but I had to go kind of look this up because people had been asking me, this always on thing, what do you know about this? And my response to that is I've never heard anything about this. But, the truth is I have so much information that comes through here. And of course I write so much. I have trouble. I'll do a web search sometimes on a topic and I'll start reading an article and I'll be like, this sounds really familiar. And then I realize I'm reading an article that I wrote. It's kind of a weird thing being me, but I had to go look this up and my point wasn't to look up whether Always On was part of the next Xbox. It was just to look at the set of information I had, because I do have some sources who over the actually many months now, several months, have provided me with a lot of information about Microsoft's plans for the next Xbox. And I, to my knowledge, or to my memory, I should say, had never received anything about the Always On bit of it. But when I looked at my notes as we were recording the show, I had that line there from a source confirming this back in January, by the way. I mean, anything could change,
sure,
of course, but and of course this set off, whatever Firestorm. But, from my perspective, the resulting cacophony or whatever you want to call it, the stuff that's occurred on Twitter, especially over the past couple of days, where people are really freaking out over this issue, is really wrong-headed. And I've noticed that trying to stop the tsunami by standing in front of it is not the best strategy. But, I've tried to give some, common sense reaction to this, which is not working. So,
well, let me, I'm gonna chime in here a little bit because I had the same reactions. Yeah, I said people are overreacting. But out of all the hate emails that I got and all the FU emails that I got this one very interesting email from someone. They said, one thing that, let's say it's not a pulse, okay? Let's say it's not a heartbeat like
what
you
I
called
would call
it.
a heartbeat.
Yeah, let's say it's not that. Let's say it actually
you
does.
You literally have to be online. Yeah.
You literally have to be online and have a decent connection. How about all those people that have not so great internet, which is many people in this country? What's going to happen to those people, and how are they actually going to be able to use an Xbox? He brought an example up that every time he's on Xbox Live, he could barely play a game. It crashes, even though he has high-speed internet. It's really bad in his area, and he's forced to play offline most of his games. So what happens to those people?
So I don't even want to, first of all, that scenario would not just impact people in this country. It would impact people all over the world.
Worldwide.
You know, we need to remember that there are people in certain countries that have very expensive, very low quality, low reliability internet connections. They have, metered connections and so forth. Every time I mention cloud services, cloud computing and so forth, I hear from people from Australia in particular, but also, all over the world. It is inconceivable that the next Xbox is going to require the type of connection that you would have to maintain to play a high quality, shooter online like Call of Duty. I mean, that is inconceivable. Now that I've said that, I have no information about this. I have the information I've already provided. We don't know what they're doing, so why even speculate? In a month and a half or so, Microsoft will announce the Xbox. I presume because of the craziness that has occurred here, they will discuss this, that they will not allow that event to go by without explaining this part of their strategy. The craziness that I've seen around this, it extends to such specific scenarios. And I don't mean, this is... and
you're not going based on anything that you have personally said, just people are speculating these insane scenarios where it's going to be mandatory to have high-speed internet and...
Well, no, they're taking it very specific. So like what you just said, the person that wrote you had a very specific scenario. I don't have a good enough quality connection to play games online. Thus, I must play games offline. Thus, the next Xbox will not work for me. You don't know that. You don't know that. So it's not worth speculating until they have announced it. A lot of people have speculated that this is related to DRM. That some kind of digital rights management, maybe. You don't know that. So I've often, it's weird, like there are topics in the tech world that set people off. I've noticed in the past, if I wrote about the Mac or Apple, there were those Apple fanboy types that can't stand any criticism of the company or the products. They hate it.
I welcome it.
Drives them insane. What's that?
I welcome it.
Okay, but Linux users were like that for a while when there were more than 3 or 4 of them. Nintendo people can be like that. Nokia people can be like that. There are things that just kind of set people off, and it has been fascinating to watch this topic really set people off. I think that's the interesting thing here. I've often said that the Xbox 360 is the one product that Microsoft has that gains the type of attention and love, and just completely innocent love that Apple products routinely get.
And it's totally, they broke the Microsoft demo. They broke that trend of who purchased Microsoft products with this.
It is the only thing Microsoft has like this. It is the only thing. It is the dirty secret of the Xbox world. And this, by the way, this will set people off even just talking about this, is that for several years running there, people were routinely sending back their Xbox to get it fixed. And then it would break again, and they would send it back to get it fixed. And while that thing was away, they'd be pinning the website to see how long it was going to take. They'd be pining away for it. And these, there are people, and I have machines that have gone through my own house now, long gone, that I had to send back, in some cases, 2 times, 3 times to get the same console fixed, because this product, as originally released, was one of the, if not the most unreliable consumer electronics product ever released, ever. It cost Microsoft over $1 billion to fix these problems. And nobody talks about it. Everyone just blindly loves this thing. And so it's interesting to watch people. It's the same crowd. These are the people, very hardcore. They're freaking out about something that no one has actually explained what it is. So let's just wait and see. I mean, that's my primary.
You know what's fascinating about sending it back? You brought up something interesting. The early days of the Xbox 360, it was plagued with that red ring of death, and people sent multiple. I mean, console after console back. I have someone that has sent 6 or 7 of them back.
Oh yeah,
and let's just say this happened to the Surface, where there was a bug in it.
The attacks would be blistering.
It would have been over. You know, I mean, it would have been over for them. This device could never have survived.
By the way, it's worth noting too. Before a year and a half ago, that white Xbox, the 360, the first generations of 360s, the white ones, also, by the way, sound like a jet engine. Get dangerously hot. Cannot be put into alcoves in a wall or in a stereo system or in a shelving unit. These things were, were really, they're awful for their purpose, which is to sit in the living room and connect to the internet and interact with online services. I mean, they're just not well designed or weren't well designed for that. The current version is much, much better, but still, it's fairly interesting that compared to the other devices that are in my cabinet under the TV now, which include a WD TV Play, the Roku, the new Roku device, any Roku device, Apple TV, even the set-top box from Fios, which I can't stand. Every one of those devices is absolutely silent, or in the case of the set-top box, mostly silent. The Xbox still, is a hum to it. It makes a sound.
Yeah, it's not. I still have an original Xbox, Phil. Paul. I don't know why I called you Phil. That's so weird. That's so weird. I just called you Phil. I have an original Xbox, and I never got the red ring. I don't know why. It just never happened.
Amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
I think it's like an anomaly, right? I'm like the only person left on this planet with an original Xbox from launch date. From launch date, the original Xbox.
The one that I kept, the old one that I kept, it will never work again, is the one I'd gotten before the Xbox 360 came out, and so the manufacturing date on it is months earlier, and it's been dead in the water for a long, long time. But I'll never throw that thing away. But the one thing I do want to communicate to people, because there has been a lot of shoot the messenger stuff going on, is that when I talk about the people who sort of blindly love the Xbox 360 and put up with all of its flaws and all that kind of stuff, I'm in this group. I've owned probably now 10 or 12 Xbox 360s. I love this machine. I use it every single day.
I kind of want to go back to the reason why people are freaking out with the always on thing. But imagine the next, let's not look at the Xbox as what it is now. Let's look at what Microsoft is most probably, and I'm hoping, envisioning for this, and that's a all-in-one media device.
Well, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead.
Let's remember that is what the Xbox 360 is today.
As
of now, 60% or more of the activity that occurs on the 360 is entertainment services. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Xbox Video, whatever. Every single one of those things, every single one of them, requires you to be constantly connected to the internet for it to work. Every single.
Sure. I mean, it'll just not work. But it's going to be a Roku with a lot more features, in my opinion. The next Xbox. It's going to have
a Roku with an Xbox 360 video game attached.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And can you imagine? Yeah. To me, it's, if this device is like a Roku box, how could you expect it not to have an always-on feature?
I made this comparison on Twitter, and I was told at least 100 times by people that the Roku and the Xbox 360 have absolutely nothing in common. And so, Andrew, what you just said is idiotic.
But how?
No, I know. Obviously.
It's the same thing. You just could play video games, really nice video games on the Xbox.
Yep.
It's fascinating, and I think a lot of this has to do with change, where the Apple people, and which I'm one of them, they welcome it no matter how bad it is. They'll welcome it no matter what feature it is. They welcome it. Where now I think it's such a diehard group for the Xbox, and it's it's almost totally separate than Microsoft. The rest of the thing, where it's like, don't mess this up for us. They don't have faith in Microsoft to fix it.
This one is tough. There's so many things here.
Do you remember?
First of all,
when they went to the 360? What was it like? Do you remember what people were saying?
What was it like?
Yeah, like did they have the same anti-Microsoft mindset?
No, actually, it's I always like to look back on this stuff. One of the big controversies about the Xbox, because it was the 360, because it was a completely different platform than the original Xbox, was that it could only run a very small subset of original Xbox games. And Microsoft spent probably 2 years slowly putting shims in so that those older games, more and more of those older games could run, to the point where by the time they were kind of finishing it up, I don't think anyone really cared anymore about the original games. By the way, the original Xbox, it was a tank. And those things, I bet virtually every one of those that was sold out in the world could run today, would run just fine. Those things were made really, really well. They obviously reached a little far for the day for the 360, which was the result of those initial problems. But, no, I mean, I remember one of the big complaints about the 360 when it first came out was that it was 720p and not 1080 like the PS3, I guess eventually was. And then they did some kind of a software update that somehow got it up to, I think it's 1080i, or maybe, I don't know if they do 1080p today. I guess they do. They must do 1080p. But they somehow, I guess it always had this capability, but it was kind of added over time. That was a mini controversy when it first came out.
Well, it's also a totally different console from the time that the Xbox 360 came out. The UI is totally different. The functionality is totally different. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's the same name, but if you compare the original Xbox to this one, it's a totally different look and feel.
Yeah, actually, the software updates that have occurred to the 360 have been pretty profound. And the original Blade UI, which I actually kind of liked in the day,
I did too.
The issue with, it just didn't scale very well to all of the additional apps and services that were eventually added over time. So as they've evolved it, I have to say, I think the current UI, which is that kind of Metro look, is,
I like it. So it's fascinating. I mean, just how people, and this is what I rarely do the comment back, but I wrote the comment. Listen, I welcome the discussion about it, but there's a lot of the stuff that people are writing right now, and plus you were misquoted on many of these articles.
Weird.
There was one that's really stood out to me, and I can't remember it now.
I can tell you what it was. I think it was CNET who said that according to Paul Thurrott, an Xbox Live subscription is going to cost $300 a year. That was one. That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's just like, okay. So whatever. On the flip side, I saw someone had written a transcript of what I said exactly, with all of my ums and uhs and pauses and stuff. It's a little weird to see something like that. It's like one of those hunter becomes the hunted things.
Yeah.
I'm just the messenger, really. I mean, I didn't. My intention was never to be some source of information about the next Xbox, but I do try to cut through the stupidity that occurs out there, and maybe I'm going to stop doing that. I don't know. It doesn't seem to have paid off in any way.
So to kind of go to like some newer news about this that we didn't talk about, there were rumors going around, and I don't know what you want to say at this point, but they're going to go with an AMD chipset in the next Xbox.
I know nothing about that.
Okay.
This is the thing, and actually this is one of the weird side effects to me saying what I do know, or some of what I know, is that inevitably people will say, oh, well, what about this? And actually, I had a guy. There was a guy on Twitter this morning who said, "Hey, I heard that they were going to use an AMD chip," and I said, "Yeah, I don't know anything about that." And he said, "That's weird because in November you wrote an article and he linked to it, and I'd written about the leak stuff at the time." Now, my article, which was called something like "Next Generation Xbox Preview," was based on leaked documents that were leaked publicly.
But those are the ones that was also leaked that were discussing a Surface device with it, right? It was kind of
maybe
discussing the Surface,
but I don't know. I mean, my point is only that I summarized what this leaked document said. I gave the opinion that this looked legitimate to me. I at the time had no inside information about what parts of it were or were not legit or whatever. And then I went on and wrote, I don't know, 1,500 articles since then. I have no idea. I don't remember the details of it. That's what I'm talking about. My problem is I write so much, I can't keep track of the stuff in my head. And let's face it, I mean, as far as the content that I cover, I mean, the Xbox is not usually right at the top of the list. It will be, as things get announced and all that. But I mean, generally speaking, in this time frame, we've had Windows 8, Windows RT, Surface, the new Office. I mean, all this stuff has happened. I write about a lot of Microsoft stuff, so I just didn't remember it. So the leaked document said, and this is just a bizarre term. It was like an I'm sorry, it said, actually, I think it was an ARM / x86 multi-core processor, blah, 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 whatever that was. And what does that mean?
One of the out of all the crazy debacle of the Xbox and all that press that I guess the show was getting and you were getting and I was getting, the best one is I got a message from an older guy that I used to work with, and he sent me a message and he goes, "Why are you in the Turkish newspaper?" And I go, "What do you mean?" And he took a picture and he sent it to me, and it's my face, and it says, I guess in Turkish, he translated it, Microsoft expert Paul Thurrott says, and then it goes into whatever you said, and he didn't tell me, but apparently I'm you in Turkey.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, the skin color is about right?
Yeah, you look Turkish.
A little, yeah. I could go for it.
Yeah, my son has approached me twice in the past, 30, 60 days, whatever, because he's seen me, he looks at a lot of Xbox stuff, and his reactions to me, being out there are funny because he has no respect for me in the slightest. And so he came in the other day and he said, "Hey, I heard a rumor that the next Xbox is going to have to be online all the time." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't believe it because the guy who said that is you and you're a noob." And I was like, "All right, thanks." I'll still factor that into my...
That's all. Dad, you're not cool. You don't know anything about the Xbox. And your face is all over GameSpot and all those websites. Yeah. That's hysterical.
It's weird. Yeah. It's weird.
Do you think it's a little weird?
It is weird. Yeah. I mean, it is weird. I mean, traditional media, I often get contacted by, newspapers and TV shows and things like that, and they'll ask for a quote or whatever. But, the gaming guys, I guess it's the goal is just to blurt it out as quick as possible and not worry about the truth.
Yeah, it's kind of to beat the other guys from getting it,
that said, I mean, a lot of these, but
this is the beauty of the internet. I mean, and I had people over on Sunday, and I guess it kind of broke out like Sunday. Yeah. We said on Friday, it kind of happened like everything spilled into Sunday, and I was just looking. I was getting email notifications from YouTube, like 100 notifications at a time.
Sure.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I looked at the show. I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's for What the Tech on YouTube, and we rarely promote the YouTube channel. And the other day, yesterday afternoon, I kind of started tracing where this started, and it went back to a forum. Like, this started on a forum. Somebody made a post on a forum, and I guess everybody just spread it from there, which is, I mean, that's the amazing part of the internet, how a forum still in 2013 is being utilized as a resource for information.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and people say forums are dead. Facebook killed the forum. Listen, I don't think so. Interesting.
Well, okay. So, I guess the only other point I want to make about this topic, because I would really like to move on,
yes,
is, and I put this on Twitter, I always find this interesting. I don't know how many times this information was reposted, republished, rewritten about, whatever. Dozens, possibly hundreds, I don't know. But of all those mainstream news stories, which include, Time and MSNBC and CNN wrote about it, all of the gaming publications, GameSpot and IGN, which by the way, I actually do visit occasionally, and then all the tech blogs, both gaming related and not. Of all of those people who wrote anything about, what I said, and in some cases actually wrote a transcript of what I said, how many do you think took the 10 seconds to drop me an email? Because I'm really easy to reach, by the way. Just, to maybe get a quote, get a little bit of more information, have some understanding of who my source was or what the sources were.
Nobody did.
Zero. Yeah. Absolutely zero. Not one. And I think that's the state of this world.
I mean, why? Do you think it's because of the internet blogging and writing culture that we don't try to reach the source and try to find out more information? Or do you think it's just because, well, I don't think he's going to tell me anything anyway, so I'm just going to put it out there?
Well, I know some of these people personally, and I would have told them something, and so they're stupid for not contacting me. I guess what I would say is that this is not a game-specific thing. This has happened to me in the past with, Windows 8/Blue related information, where I've seen people that I know very well write things based on what I had said or maybe posted somewhere without bothering to contact me. it's lazy and all that kind of stuff. But I think the reality is, I think the reason, if there is one reason, is this collective need to publish and run, just to get it out there quickly. And I'm certainly part of that world. I mean, I'm not.
Well, but let me tell you,
I'm not doing like a pot kettle black thing here, but it is a little weird when it's. Well, I guess I would.
But
put it
you
this
don't
way.
really do it, and I'll tell you why.
Well, no, I can do it.
You can, and you've done it before. But one thing that I've noticed you do.
Let me just clarify that. I mean, if Rafael Rivera or Mary Jo Foley wrote something that I had a question about, or I know those people, I would contact them. I can sort of understand when people I don't know don't contact me, although that would be one way to get to know me.
But it's very easy to reach you too.
Yeah. I mean, it's odd to me in this case that, some of the people that wrote about it never bothered to contact me. It's too bad.
What I was going to say is that I've seen you do reviews of products on your website. And for the most part, it's weeks after you get the product.
Yeah.
You don't do this hit and run thing. And I've actually taken that from you whenever, like for the BlackBerry, everybody's asking me, where's your review of the product? I go, it's still too early. I've only had it for a week. How could I review a product and say if it's great or awful if I've only been using it for a week? So I've kind of learned that from your side, and I've said, it doesn't matter if I get it out now. If I get it out and it's good information, people are going to spread the news anyway. I think it's not about the content. It's about getting there first and getting all the hits back to you. I mean, it's almost become this crazy competition of link backs and all this crazy stuff that websites have become.
So I could tell you, right, because, I kind of came of age in the internet era, and my own, I should say, I did start out writing traditional books and have written traditional books as recently as last year. They get printed on paper and whatever, but my most successful stuff, the bulk of what I do is online, guerrilla publishing type stuff. In recent years, what I've decided to do with regards to stuff like that is I can take pictures of something and publish an article that I usually call something like Photos and First Impressions. Here's the new Roku device. Here's the new Western Digital device, are two recent examples where I get them in, I take some pictures, I throw them on, look at them, take screenshots if I can. Here's my off-the-cuff reaction. I'll review it in a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks goes by, and we use it. And in the case of these devices, I've actually used them pretty extensively, and both will have a home in my living room. They both serve a purpose and a need. And actually, that's the other big difference, I would say, between me and a lot of the people. And I try to explain this to some of the people that don't get this, maybe at Microsoft in some cases, although some parts of Microsoft clearly get this. Or Nokia was one where I had a discussion with them where I said, look, any blogger can review a phone.
Yeah.
If I like this thing, I'm going to live with it, and then I'm going to write about it a lot. I don't just stop. I'm writing actually a couple of series of articles about Office 365 now that my business account is being transferred over to the new version. I've already been using the new version with a test account, and now I can use it with my actual live account. I'm going to write a bunch of stuff about Office 365. That's what I do. So, anyone can review something and then move on to then Tuesday comes and we're on to the next topic. But I write series of articles a lot. I did that for Windows 8 and RT and Surface and Office, and I'm going to do it for Office 365. I mean, that's just the way
you do it.
Yeah.
So I want to move on off the Xbox stuff for now, for today.
Let me tell you about one more feature I know about.
What is that, Paul? Is the Apple stuff true?
What Apple stuff?
Apple and Microsoft kind of getting together to create the iBox.
The iBox?
Yeah. It'll be perfect. We'll all live in this harmonious society.
iTunes, yeah.
iTunes is going to be on the Xbox. You heard it here first from Paul Thurrott. You can quote him on that. Before we move on, I do want to talk about our sponsor and a supporter of our show, and that's Carbonite Online Backup. We're talking about the Xbox, but something we do talk about is cloud computing and cloud backing up. And they always say you got to have, in order to back something up, you need one physical location of the original, so one physical backup, and of course you have a cloud out-of-the-way backup. And with Carbonite, they make it totally easy for you. It's continual, so it's constantly backing up. You do it once, and it's working for you all the time, which is amazing. I have it on my wife's laptop that I just got her. I should have had it on her previous laptop, because she totally destroyed the thing and lost every single Word file that she had in there and she needed for work. So I kind of learned from that, and I put Carbonite on her newer laptop that I got for Christmas. And here's a great thing: $59 a year. You could try it for free at Carbonite, and you could use offer code WhatTheTech, and you get 2 bonus months with the purchase. So you get 14 months for the price of 12 months with Carbonite. It's a very, very interesting thing, and I find it fascinating that a lot of people don't use Carbonite and don't use an online backup solution because they make it so easy for you. I was one of those people that held out for many, many years. I've had external hard drives, and I actually on this drive here. Let me show you this. I'm actually gonna do a show and tell here for this live read. So these are all the hard drives that I still keep with data on it that I never backed up. So what I need to actually do is take all the important data from these computers, put it on my main computer, and back that up with Carbonite. I think it makes a lot more sense than carrying this, right, Paul? These are laptops and
yes, Andrew, but what if you're not online?
Well,
where will you back up to then?
I don't know. The Matrix. The Matrix. You know, that's such a fascinating thing. I have no answer for that. It's so interesting. I have no answer for that. Well, you're kind of screwed then, right, Paul? Just create discs everywhere and put them all over the place. $59 a month. You could also access it on your iPad or your smartphone. You get private access to it, so you're not it's not going to get hacked, nothing like that. Again, $59 a year. Use offer code WhatTheTech at Carbonite.com, and you get 2 bonus months with purchase. I want to thank Carbonite for supporting What the Tech. What are you going to do, Paul, if there's no internet?
What do we do? What I used to do before that? I know. I don't know.
I was thinking that I'm like, my life was so dull and boring before the internet.
No. This is actually it's strange because I distinctly remember I spent hours and hours every day using computers before there was an internet, and I cannot for the life of me tell you what the heck I would have been spending my time doing.
Nothing.
Very strange.
Yeah. Nothing. That's the most amazing thing to me. Like, you could communicate with everybody from all over the world. You could get all the news you want from all over the world at the very moment you need it. You can find out what your cousin Sue is doing. That lives 4,000 miles away somewhere in Europe. Fine, but the fact that I could think of something and be like, you know what? I wonder what that name is, or I wonder who the 15th president was, and I could just ask my phone and it'll tell me, is unbelievable.
Right.
Unbelievable. And they still say we're getting dumber.
Well, of course we're getting dumber because now we have instant access to everything. Why remember anything?
Do you think there's retention with that? This is kind of getting off the tech stuff, but do you think we retain more because we could find the information better, or do you think it's just retention does not exist because I don't need to remember it? I can just find it wherever.
I literally just explained to you how I can't remember things that I wrote myself. Why are you asking me about retention?
Well, I don't know what
I'm not even going to remember this conversation when I get up from this desk and go have dinner.
What did you and Andrew talk about? I don't know. Internet.
Who? Like who?
Who's that? Oh, the guy.
Leo?
Little.
I don't know.
I should put on a white wig, a gray wig, just one day, and just come here and do it, and I'll bounce on a ball too. I want to talk about, since we're on the internet topic, this is something that we've always discussed, and this actually kind of works with the Xbox stuff, where people are saying, connectivity to high-speed internet is such a problem in this country and worldwide. I mean, I have a lot of friends over in the UK, and they tell me, they're like, well, here's the great thing. We have like 50 megabits download, and I'm like, what's your upload? He goes, 1 megabit.
Yeah, 1. Yeah.
I mean, there's a problem there, and that happens all over the place. And I know people that have phenomenal internet, but Google Fiber, which was in Kansas City, they expanded. They were in Kansas City. They built the infrastructure. I believe they spent about $84 million building out the infrastructure for Kansas City, and I believe they wired 149,000 homes there. They're looking to expand to Austin.
Right.
And this is fascinating because I did not see an expansion this quick. I thought once they got Kansas City running, they would sit on that for a couple of years and possibly do a couple other small markets, but analysts are reporting.
That's actually the part I'm surprised by.
Yeah,
I figured
that fast.
The second one would be rural Illinois or some random place in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Austin's already a pretty wired place.
Yeah.
So
Brian
But it's also
Brushwood.
flat, though. I bet rolling this stuff out.
I spoke to Brian Brushwood from NSFW, and he told me that he's actually considering moving closer to the main city so he could get this.
So he can get it, yeah.
I mean, you know what, though? I was thinking, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I'm like, no, it's not, because I personally would do the same thing. I mean, you're getting gigabit internet.
I'm trying to imagine what would be better about it. Like at what point does that make sense? In other words, compared to what I have now,
it doesn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move for it. I mean, I have 150 megabits down and 75 up. That's plenty for me. That's more than enough. But if you're like on the outskirts of Austin, and you're getting, I believe Brian's internet is awful, because I've done a show twice, and both times he's had internet issues. I think he's getting like 5 megs down.
Right.
You know what? From 5 to a gigabit, yeah, maybe I might consider moving. I might.
Yeah.
But this is interesting that they're expanding at this rate. They just launched Kansas City. They're saying Austin will be ready by 2014, and they're estimating that it would cost them $11 billion to go nationwide, which is nothing for Google.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing when you think about it.
That's such a low number.
Right. Plus, you could make this great argument that this should be part of the national infrastructure. And I mean, $11 billion, is that what it costs to be in Afghanistan for one day or something? I mean, what's $11 billion? I mean,
I'm surprised at that number. And again, this is an analyst that's reporting it. It's not Google, so we don't know. But if that is an accurate number of how much it would cost to have a major market nationwide spread for Google Fiber, they could do this thing very quickly. They could do it at a very low cost, and the only thing they will have to deal with is the townships and the cities that will not welcome this. Like New York City did not welcome Verizon Fios for
like
a
that
long
place
time.
In Florida that didn't want high-speed rail. Oh, actually, that was the state of Florida.
That was the state of Florida.
Although I guess he's changed his mind on that.
But I believe that is the biggest uphill battle that they face, is going into major markets and getting the cities and the states or whoever, the townships, to approve this, because there's almost a no compete thing happening in these towns. Verizon expanded in New York, and then all of a sudden, Time Warner and Cablevision, they all shook hands and they said, no more expansion for you, and it's done. Verizon Fios is finished. They're no longer expanding.
Yeah, they've concluded combat operations, I think is how they said it.
I mean, do you think that Google's going to be able to go into major markets and expand this at the rate that they kind of, I'm assuming that they're planning on going at?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so far they've just done the 2, or they've done 1, right? So we only have 1.
We only have 1, and they're saying they're going to have 2 by 2014.
Yeah, I mean, that's not very fast. So I wouldn't worry about it yet. I mean, I guess it's just...
but I mean, if anybody's going to be able to do a nationwide rollout, it would be them. I mean, they would be able to just say, okay, you know what? By 2020, we're going to be covering every market in this country.
So you're saying $11 billion Google spends this out of pocket, wires the entire country, but it's just the United States. We're only doing this here.
Yeah,
they're going to pay this fee, and this is worth it to them. I don't know. That seems kind of strange.
Why would they want to do it? That's also another thing.
I don't know. I mean, does any of this have to do with wireless, or is this just home-based broadband?
Home-based broadband.
I mean, isn't the wireless bit almost more important?
I personally agree with that, but I think their point with wiring Kansas City was, it was almost like this, well, you know what, guys? We're going to show you how it's done. We're going to kind of show you guys that we could do this. So you better get your act together. It was almost to kind of scare the telcos and the cable companies to provide higher speeds and provide better broadband. And now I guess this is their next step into kind of scaring the competition. It's fascinating. I mean, the entire concept of Google expanding with their own internet, fiber network is really interesting.
Don't get me wrong. Obviously, it would be incredible if they wired the entire country with this. But I guess I'm just not seeing the point of it.
Like why they would want to do it. I guess you know what? Because they'll probably get into. I mean, I could see Google getting into their own, wireless service. Why can't Google get into becoming a telco of sorts?
Right.
You know, they have the, if they built an infrastructure for this, if they could do it easily. They can start competing in every market, which as far as television goes, because I know they're doing that with Google Fiber. They want to do TV. They could easily hook up. They have Spectrum, right? They could hook up their own.
You know why they do it? It's for the Chromebook Pixel, because this eliminates all the complaints.
And what were the complaints?
Now you'll be able to get online everywhere. So
yeah, see, it's all about the Pixel and a 4x3 screen.
3x2.
3x2, not even 4x3.
You know, the very common aspect ratio.
I don't know. I just found this interesting that, you know, they're really starting to roll this out, and the speeds are out of control high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And mid-2014, so a year from now, they're going to be wiring it.
Still not super fast.
A gigabit?
No, I mean the rollout.
The rollout. 1 year per market. At the rate, they'll have about 50 years to go into every state.
So when do you think they'll get to Dedham? Like 2076?
2082.
In the year 2525.
Be wonderful. Hey, I do want to touch on this a little bit since we're on the TV thing. Did you see the News Corp story?
No.
They're saying if Aereo, which is a service in New York, it's a over-the-air TV service, which I have, and it's okay. I mean, it's not bad. It works.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did see this. Yes,
okay.
The Fox coming off the air thing.
Fox is saying that they're going to take all their shows off the air. Everything's going off the air.
That's awesome.
But this kind of goes back to what we were saying about how, like, the cable companies, you know, it's one step forward, two steps back with everything that's happening in television. And we get to this almost every episode at this point. We talk about this because you're big on the TV stuff, and you're big on, you know, using Apple TV and using a Roku and consuming your data that way, consuming your content that way. I believe AP put out a thing that said 5 million people have said goodbye to television over the last 2 years. They don't have a television in their house. And this is directly because you're able to consume content everywhere. If you're Fox or if you're, you know, Viacom, you should be begging people to watch it, and you should be saying, I welcome any kind of content to watch my stuff, because especially in America, our standard for television quality as far as, you know, content goes is not really high. Right. The same people that could get off on watching the Jersey Shore could watch a YouTube video of a cat for 45 minutes. And like, I mean, it sounds funny, but I mean, at how many hours a week do you personally, and I'm speaking to the audience, consume YouTube, you know, content? That you go on YouTube and you watch content, or you watch my show, or you watch Twitter, whatever. And this is free content for you.
Sure.
The battle for the cable companies are so far. It's so much more than it used to be. How could you go and say, I'm going to cancel, Fox is not going to be available if this happens? How could you say, you know, we don't want to put our content online? It's this crazy bubble they're in, and it's almost like, you know, it is an 86-year-old man running the company, so maybe that has something to do with it.
He still sends telegrams.
He probably does.
You know?
And he handwrites everything.
Sure.
I don't know. I just found it interesting that this is still happening, and it could go on. I don't know.
Look, I'd be excited for anything that could prevent me from watching the following at this point. But I think
you don't like it anymore?
God, it's the same damn thing over and over again. Don't get me started on that.
The writing is awful. I watched the following.
It's just I keep pausing the show and saying to my wife, I'm not in law enforcement, nor am I in the FBI, but
they're the most incompetent law enforcement agency.
No, it's ludicrous. Like the everything that happens in the show is ludicrous. Anyway, that's beside the point.
That's so. I scream at the TV and I yell the same thing, that these are the worst police officers on the face of the planet.
Could you lose the guy again? Could you lose the kid again? Could you lose the woman? Like, seriously. Apparently this. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's not get.
Everybody runs into buildings by themselves too. That's the best part of it.
I hate myself for watching that show. Let's just leave it at that. Obviously, the world is changing. I think that this stuff is exactly the problem that I often use in the case of Microsoft when I talk about kids who are coming up in the world, going through school, going to college, and they come out into the job force, or in this case, just out into life, with way different expectations than we had when we were growing up. And I you know, my kids are at home and we have various needs of our own. And I think we're going to maintain a cable subscription for a while. But I have to say, even in my case, even as sort of an old-fashioned old fart in some ways, you know, if it wasn't for the kids, whatever, I mean, I could get along very nicely with a handful of online services and prefer it. I mean, frankly, TV's infuriating.
It is, because the quality of television is just awful. By the way, this is the following that we're discussing. It's, I believe, on ABC. But Scandal...
I thought it was on Fox. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it is on Fox. You're right. It is on Fox. Scandal on ABC is phenomenal. I love that show. So
it's great TV, but, you know, increasingly... This is a completely different topic, maybe. But, I mean, obviously, the pay TV stuff, HBO, Showtime, etc., fantastic. Some of the best stuff on TV today is on AMC or A&E in some cases even. You know, that kind of stuff is amazing. And I think that's an interesting model for the future. But on the flip side, I've also seen the disintegration of previously really high-quality programming, for example, on stations like History, which used to be about history and is now about stupid reality shows that have no tie to history in any way, shape, or form.
Ancient Aliens.
Cooking shows on every channel, including the travel channels. You know,
CNN
travel shows on, you know.
CNN just hired Anthony Bourdain to bring his show over.
Yeah. I don't like that kind of stuff. That said, you know, Anthony Bourdain being a great example, I like Anthony Bourdain. I find his shtick to be a little tired. You know, we get it. You know, you're the disgruntled guy. You've been around. We
I like the show, but you know what? I have the sense that he always smells like cigarettes.
Yeah. He's
always. Like, he walks in and just...
Right. He's got his personality, whatever. He's fine. I like the guy. I like a lot of what he's done, but what I would rather do than try to hunt and peck and figure out where his stuff is pay you know, as part of some fee, pay to watch just that and not see the other crap. You know, because sometimes when you're on those channels that his stuff would be on, or you're watching The Following or whatever, and you see commercials for other show. I mean, it's infuriating to me what's on TV. You know, I do this a lot. I'll walk by the TV when I get out of here. My daughter will be watching some terrible show on Nick Teen Jr. or whatever the heck it's called. And these kind of starter sitcoms they have, or these terrible reality shows, you know, Hardcore Pawn and the Duck Dynasty people. And it's all this like crazy crap that's just, it's like you get dumber just by listening to it.
You know what? One thing that I feel like there is a disconnect with, and that's watching YouTube videos on the TV.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
There are a variety of ways to do it.
I've tried them all. I still feel that there's a disconnect. Like, I'll use my iPad and I'll use, you know, AirPlay just to send it over to my TV, and I sometimes watch it that way. But I don't know if it's because I'm so used to watching it on a smaller screen, or you know, like, as I'm watching a YouTube video, I'm looking at the side to see what else I can watch. It doesn't really translate onto a television for whatever reason. I don't know what.
Well, it depends, though. So a lot of YouTube content these days is in HD. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. I find it interesting that you can find many movies, like full-length movies,
still
for free on YouTube. And it's gotten to the point now where it's not like the intellectual property theft of the past where, you know, YouTube is this evil entity and they're stealing stuff. I honestly think we're at the point now where everybody understands what's happening here. Like, that stuff is on there because the content owners know it's on there, and somehow it's better for them. Just, you know, who knows? Maybe they make money just because there are ads.
Well, the music industry's, you know, monetizing on music videos on there, and they're monetizing. If I were to put a, you know, let's say like a Madonna song on it, YouTube has this algorithm where it'll put like an ad to say, go and buy the Madonna song. So
I'm never going to watch music videos on YouTube or watch music videos, period. But I do remember growing up and having MTV and loving MTV before it turned into something that wasn't about music. And in fact, those guys, you could, you know, arguably were one of the first reality shows, right? I think it was The Real World or whatever was on MTV.
The first one, yeah.
It was maybe, I don't know if that was the start of it or it was a show like that was the start of this kind of weird trend.
Yeah, like they had a bunch of these, like Sex in the 90s and Road Rules. I mean, they got into this reality TV thing.
But I have to say, as a lover of music, even though I'm not going to personally use this feature myself, I actually am glad there is a place that people can go and see music videos. And if that place is YouTube, I mean, to me, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad that that's there. Because maybe my kids want to see music videos, and I don't know where you would go otherwise to see them at this point.
YouTube. That's about it.
Yeah,
that's about it.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's a good use for that.
I do want to get to one more topic, Paul, before we wrap it up. I want you to grill me on the BlackBerry a little bit, because I'm gonna praise this thing a little bit. But before we go into that, I want to talk about Shutterstock.com. At Shutterstock.com, you'll find perfect images and videos for your website, project, anything you're looking to do, an advertisement, a video. We use Shutterstock all the time for GFQ. I know my good friend Josh Coleman, he's a web designer, and he has a subscription to Shutterstock, and he's been using them for about 4 years now, developing websites. So if you're looking for a stock image, a stock video, this is the place to go. You could choose from over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vector files, and video clips. Many of the contributors to Shutterstock are professional photographers and video people. So video people. What am I saying, Paul?
Video people.
Videographers. Video people. Those video people are pretty dangerous, so be careful for them. Shutterstock reviews each image individually for content and quality, so you know you're getting good quality stuff. It's not like people are just submitting thousands of stuff and they're just letting it go. You know you're going to find something that's useful for you. They're also adding 10,000 images a day, which is phenomenal. So if you go there, you don't really find what you're looking for. Guess what? It's over there eventually. Shutterstock also offers sophisticated tools for you to search and drill down by subject type, gender, motion, color, whatever you're looking for. It's actually amazing, and this is the great part of this. If you go to Shutterstock.com and you sign up for a new account, you get 30% off when you use offer code WhatTheTech4, which is a good start. 30% off is not chump change, guys. So check it out. If you're a website developer or photographer, definitely something to look into. That's Shutterstock.com. And use offer code WhatTheTech4 and get 30% off on a new account. I want to thank Shutterstock for supporting the show. I was just on there, Paul. It's funny. I actually needed them. And my wife used it for her website. And I had no idea. She was watching the show. She goes, Shutterstock, they're advertising? I'm like, yeah, they're a sponsor. He goes, oh, I've been using them for a couple years now. I had no clue. I do want to talk about the BlackBerry. Do you have any questions for me before I go into this?
I mean, other than what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. Anything else. A lot's wrong with me, but I'll tell you something. So I've used it for another week. Again, this is not a paid ad. AT&T sent me the phone to review. I don't have to say I like it because I've said I don't like many of the phones that they've sent. And I really like the phone. And the more I use it, the more I like it, the more comfortable I'm getting. But again, I do want to say the camera on this thing is unbelievable. It's quite an impressive camera, and I took a photo very similar to what I had taken with the Lumia and the Galaxy Note 2. The same photo. And the camera quality on this was far better than all of them. Except for low light. The Lumia by far is much better in low light scenarios, like really dark rooms. Yeah. Really good with it. So I don't know. I'm still waiting. I'm still weighing it out. But it's interesting that BlackBerry actually did something really good. Because people beat up on them for so long.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of had to, right? I mean, I think that if this thing was anything other than excellent, the game over stories would have appeared immediately.
But I mean, we're not seeing the story saying like, wow, this is great. And I feel like before I say, wow, this is great, I feel like I'm missing something here. And I haven't noticed whatever people are noticing. The app situation is awful. Would be. Awful. Yeah.
What about? I thought it did Android app emulation of some kind.
I haven't done that yet. I haven't done that, and I don't know.
Well, it seems like that would solve the problem.
I guess that would, but I kind of feel like that's like an easy way out. It's like, well, I could run an Android app on here, but it's not really a BlackBerry app. The problem is that people are not developing for BlackBerry.
Yeah.
You know, well, I think that's the largest problem that they face is that the developers really are not investing the time in developing the apps that we're looking for or people just need. You could use the website. I mean, you could go and use, search on the web for it, but I don't necessarily feel like that's the right thing. We become such an appified culture where we kind of want to do it. It was the same problem with Windows Phone, wasn't it? People were complaining about the apps. Oh, this app isn't on, that app isn't on. But I think
it's the same problem right now.
You think so?
Even though we have
you use it all the time. No, do you really feel that
in the sense that I still get complaints?
No, but do you feel that the app situation on Windows Phone is better than it was a year ago? And how much better?
Right. That's a tough one for me because honestly, I just don't really care about apps too much. That said, I was just thinking about this in the context of Nokia. You know, those guys released a bunch of their Here apps in recent weeks, and you know, some of these are updates of apps that existed previously under slightly different names and so forth. But they have kind of a nice family of, I guess you'd call them location apps, which all integrate together and work together and do all that kind of stuff. I think that stuff is huge and a big differentiator and an important thing for Windows Phone as a platform, and you know, for Lumia phones in particular. But no, I mean, we still hear about things like, you know, we don't have Instagram. We still don't have Instagram. You know, many people want to do banking on their phones. Some banks are there, some banks aren't. You know, it depends on where you're at.
But I feel like if I wanted to do, let's say, I'll bring up an awful example, but I want to do a speed test of the 4G on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
If the official speedtest.net app is not on Windows Phone, I guarantee there's 5 other speed test apps that do exactly the same thing.
I mean, I'm going to look right now for that one, but
that does not exist on this.
Okay, but I mean, that's kind of a random
Again,
app. I mean,
very random.
What about Instagram? What about Angry Birds? What about
Angry Birds? Yes.
I don't know what else. What is important?
But I mean, there's no again, there's no YouTube app. Okay, that makes sense. eBay. No, there isn't eBay. Is this eBay the website, or is this? I'm trying to load it.
We do have a nice eBay app on Windows Phone.
I think this is the app. I mean, the apps that I use, I really don't use too many apps. So I'm using Facebook. I'm using Twitter. I have LinkedIn on there. I have Foursquare on there, and those are the only apps that I have. The New York Times, which constantly tells me that I need a subscription. I have one podcast app that's really
New York
awful.
Times we have ESPN, which is fantastic.
A lot of these
Kindle.
things are not
here. Do you have
here.
any Amazon? Are there Amazon apps on this thing?
Let's see. I'm curious.
Those are important. Obviously,
BlackBerry
Facebook,
World.
Twitter.
Now, you know what I am noticing, though? The more I'm using it,
Audible.
I don't think Audible's on here. Audible.
What about the carrier apps? Do you have this thing on AT&T?
No Audible. Yeah, AT&T.
Are there AT&T apps like My AT&T?
Yes,
AT&T
and
Map,
it comes.
Nap,
My
Internet.
AT&T's there. AT&T Family Map. AT&T Device Help. Adobe Reader.
Park Mobile
No.
is like something like Mint. Are there Mint mobile apps?
Oh, that's interesting. Let me see if Mint's on here. Mint.
PhotoSynth is one. It's a Microsoft.
Mint is not
Skype?
on here. No.
Skype.
Skype is not on there.
Weather Channel. Yelp.
There's Weather.
Yellow
Yelp.
Pages.
So, but it's interesting. I mean, a lot of those key apps are not there anymore, or are not there, but they were there. Let's say for the older BlackBerry, like Stitcher, for example. Stitcher had an app on BlackBerry. Now they don't have an app on the new BlackBerry, and this is really bad.
Spotify, Pandora, all that stuff should be.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the biggest battle that they face, and I don't know if developers are going to flock to BlackBerry.
It's so weird, you know, looking at Windows Phone, the top 10 apps are this really curious combination of total tier A apps that everyone's heard of, Pandora, Facebook, some Nokia apps, you know, YouTube, and then some really weird, like just specific to this platform made by Bob in his parents' basement, you know, Flashlight X. Ringtones, you know, like just stuff made by nobody.
But I mean, Apple has the same problem, and Android has the same problem. But I think what Android has been able to do is actually bring the developers over because they flooded the market with phones, and Apple, of course, they were the first ones there, so everybody is there.
Sure. You know, the #1 paid app on Windows Phone is something called LOL Soundboard Pro.
How much is it?
99 cents. It's made by somebody named Jeremy.
Oh, nice man. So, okay, I'll tell you the #1 paid app on iOS, SwiftKey. Then it's Minecraft. It's a keyboard. Then it's Minecraft Pocket Edition, Beautiful Widgets, Power Amp Full Unlocker, ROM Manager, which is for unlocked phones, ROM Tools, which is for rooted phones, and the other one's rooted, Titanium Backup, which is for rooted, Nova Launcher.
Wait, hold on a second. Where are you seeing this list?
I'm Android. I'm looking on Android.
I'm sorry. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So out of the top 10 apps, the top paid apps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are for rooted phones. What does that say about the state that they're in?
Yeah,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I mean that's fascinating. That people are the people that are paying for apps are the ones that are rooting this thing.
Sure.
I don't know. We'll see. All right, Paul.
Yep.
Let's wrap it up. Yep. It is on fire in my studio. It's 82 degrees here in New York, and I'm sure my studio is
beautiful today.
I don't know what happened today. My studio literally is probably like 90 degrees again. So we're back to this whole disaster of a scenario. I need to get
quickly the complaints change.
I know. I would rather welcome the cold than this weather. I would rather be freezing.
We just got out of Narnia, and you're already looking forward to the next winter.
I welcome Narnia. WinSuperside.com is the website. Paul, anything special going on this week on the website?
No, I mean, I'm starting up my Office 365 stuff, but no, I'm just happy to be home this week for a change, so that will be nice.
It'll be very
nice. Then I go to Colorado next week.
Are you?
Yeah.
When?
That won't affect us, so I don't go till Wednesday.
All right. And I'm going to be in Los Angeles the week of the 21st.
How dare you.
But I'll be doing a show from there. It'll be nice. I'll be in a whole new studio. I'll have special lights behind me, too. It's black walls and all these lights coming up. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Nice. If you miss any portion of the show, guys, of course, you can go to our website, gfknetwork.com, or you can go to winsupersite.com and catch it archived there. Also, subscribe to us. I encourage you guys to subscribe to us on iTunes, on Windows Phone, on every single place podcasts are available. We're there, and it makes me really happy, and Paul gets really happy, and he doesn't hit me. So don't let Paul hit me. All right, guys, we'll see you all next week on What to Talk. Good night, everybody.